Well, good morning, everybody. Just want to check again that the sound is clear and carrying to the back of the hall. Thank you very much. Welcome to this signature event, Cambridge University Press signature event. And I'd like to start by thanking Cambridge University Press for sponsoring this event and making it possible for us to be here today. In no particular order other than that I'm starting it. My name is Michael McCarthy. There waving to you now is Anne O'Keefe, and last but not least, Geraldine Mark. Ronald Carter, who is our fourth of the gang of four, can't be with us today and sends his apologies. He has a domestic situation that is very critical. We're here today to talk to this title, what should learners, plural, not just for one learner, but for any learners, grammar for B1, B2 learners include? And our talk is based on research that we've been doing together, but most of the research for this talk actually comes from Anne and Geraldine's work with a lesser contribution from me. So when we speak to our particular bits of the talk, those are the bits of research that we're particularly concerned with. The research on grammar is being done in connection with the revision of the Common European Framework of Reference, the CEFR. And I know there are many people here from outside of Europe, but as I travel around the world, I'm very conscious that the CEFR is becoming known outside of its European borders, to the extent that we can confidently predict that within a number of years we'll probably drop the E and it'll become just some kind of common framework of reference. But for the moment, it's called the Common European Framework of Reference. For those less familiar with it, a very, very quick review of what it is. It consists of three main levels, A, B, and C, which are in their turn subdivided. The A level, the basic user level, and I love these metaphors that are contained in the labels because they speak of the way we see English language learning and teaching. Breakthrough. So there's a kind of military metaphor there. You know, you've overcome some seemingly impossible enemy at A1. A2, way stage, you're putting your tents down and getting your supplies up and so on. That's the basic user. The independent user then crosses a threshold. And it is that threshold that we're going to be talking a lot about today when you enter this B level. B2, we get back to the military metaphors, and it's vantage now. You know, you've got your maps out and you're planning your campaign in Napoleonic style, and you're going to get to the victory. By C, you become a proficient user. And C1 sounds like something only the American CIA could come up with. Effective operational proficiency. Sounds like something President Nixon might have said when accused of lying in the Watergate scandal. We didn't lie, we just made it effective operational proficiency. And then finally, C2, this rather gendered term, mastery. By this point, the sky's the limit sort of thing. Now, the research in particular that we're reporting today was commissioned for two reasons. One was to produce some teaching material, and the other was in the service of the revision of the Common European Framework of Reference under the umbrella of a project called the English Profile Project, EPP we often call it. It's a collaborative research program involving a number of different institutions and countries and people. And it's called Profile because we're trying to profile what it means to be a learner at these levels. You know, what is the profile of an A2 learner or a C1 learner? Now, the current Common European Framework of Reference consists of a number of can-do statements. It's all about what you can do with the language. But to find out what people, rather than what they can do, what they actually do, sorry about all the do's there, but what they do is more important. And to do that, we're trying to look objectively at how learners use English in a corpus. So a corpus, big database of language on a computer, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. So the question we want to ask is, if you are a B1 student or a B2 student, well, how many words do you know? What are those words that a typical B1 learner knows? What skills have you acquired at that point? If you take the definition of skills as being the application of knowledge, what reading skills or writing skills can you display at B1 or C1? What about phonology? How can you, at what stage do you master some of these awful English consonant clusters like crisps and months? I haven't had any crisps for months. Even native speakers can't do it. But it's a sort of question we're asking. And in particular, today, we want to focus on how you go about establishing what grammar is known by students at these various levels. I knew this was going to happen, so I'll just hold it for the moment. Okay. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Anne. We're going to be doing a bobbing up and down sort of show. We'll all bob up and bob down. It's my turn to bob down and Anne's turn to bob up.
As long as I don't fall down. Okay. As Mike explained, a lot of this research is connected with the English Profile Project. And central to the research... Oh, sorry, Mike. Did you want to cover these?
No, you can do that.
The questions that we want to address in the talk today relate to what are the items and structures that need to be addressed at B-level grammar? How well do the items support the Keffer can-do statements at this level? Do they contradict them? How are B-level items and structures qualitatively different from A-level ones? What is this threshold at B1? Can we see that in the actual use of language by learners? What needs to be recycled from A-level? Can we say that by A-level, certain grammar is done? They can do it now. Can we rest and say, great, present perfect at such a level is done? And then what degree of specialization emerges at the B-level as well? So there are 3 dimensions that we considered. What learners pre-assigned to the Keffer levels do well and don't do well. How grammatical knowledge develops over time. That developmental factor is very important, as we hope to illustrate. And how this is reflected in input in terms of what goes in terms of what the learners get from their course books and their syllabi. Okay. Central to the research is the database, the Cambridge Learner Corpus. And this contains over 35 million words from Cambridge exam scripts, from over 135,000 exam scripts. That's across 130 different languages, first languages. And that covers 190 different countries. So it's an amazing resource. All of the written data from the exams is then error-coded. So it means that somebody writing materials or investigating language use can look at the types of errors that learners are making, as well as the language that they use that isn't wrong. I'm going to go straight to an example based on this database then. Actually, I should add before I go on, this is just the starting point really though in terms of profiling, because this is just exam data. Now it's a lot of exam data and it's wonderful to have. The English Profile Project would very much welcome any teachers who'd like to become involved, so I just advise you to Google English Profile and follow the links. We're building up a lot of spoken data as well and non-exam data from the classroom and from outside of the classroom. I'm going to go now to an example, a standard item, the past tense, past simple. When we look at the Cambridge Learner Corpus, we can see that the most common errors with the past simple across the Keffer levels, the most common error is just getting the tense wrong. You knew that anyway. The second most common error is getting the verb wrong, so just using the wrong verb. Did instead of made, etc. But you can see here that it's tracked across the levels. So at A1, you see, these levels are normalized. So this is relative to the data. It's a percentage, or no, it's normalized to per million words. At A1, you see a low result because they're not using it that much. Goes up a bit at A2, and then it spikes in both cases. And that's the case for all the other errors as well, like inflection, agreement. And that coincides with the B1 level, this threshold level. So it's an interesting metaphor. It's where students are really challenged. Now, the course books generally present the past simple at A1, A2 level. But what we find is the students are having big trouble with it, seemingly big trouble with it at B1. And they're also, in parallel, struggling with the vocabulary. Which past tense, which verb should I use, okay? But then by B2, it settles down again. And this is a wonderful insight, really, because it shows us that something that seems like, we could say, we'll have done that by A2. They'll know the past tense, they'll learn off the irregular verbs, and then we move on to present perfect and so on. But really, what we're seeing here is evidence of learning. They make a massive grammatical leap in what they actually do with the past simple between the A levels and the B levels. At the A levels, they're using it in a much simpler way. He lived in France, compared to using it in subordinated clauses, like if clauses, when clauses. And they're trying to use it, but sometimes getting it wrong. So the errors are positive in the sense that they're evidence of the learner pushing through that threshold. But that's where all the chaos happens around the B levels. Now, here are some examples. So at A1, here's an example where a student used the past simple. This is where they thought they should use it. It's an example of from an A1 exam paper. He goes to college at 9 a.m. and finished at 1 p.m. Obviously, they should have used the present simple. I'm going to take a plane, and I think I arrived at 10 o'clock. They use the past simple when they should have used a future reference. Now, let's move up to the B level examples. A true friend will never steal something you like because the friendship is more important. I mean, you can see that threshold, can't you? You can see the breaking through. And yet, there's a seemingly basic error. But the student is doing so much more with that structure, or trying to, okay, they've got the tense wrong, but you can see the grammatical development that's going on. At B2, she is one of our most competitive employees and always met her sales targets. Now, okay, they use a past there when it should be in the present, but you can see the lexical development to meet sales targets. That's very sophisticated, So there's so much going on at B level in terms of not just grammar, but also vocabulary, the sophistication of the collocation there. So the workload, if you like, is enormous. And there is that threshold level. You can really see it from B1. Now, I took a look at what tenses learners were most confusing the past simple with from A1 to B1. Now, I should explain here, I combined the times that they used the past simple when they should have used another tense, and when they used the opposite, when they should have used the past simple, if you know what I mean. So basically, the total confusion when they used it and when they should have used it. When they used it incorrectly and when they should have used it. And the tense that's jumping out there is the present simple. The present simple confusion with the past simple. Obviously, at A1, they're mixing them up. You expect that at the very basic level. That settles down in A2, but then it jumps up again at B1. And this, again, is indicative of the growing grammatical complexity. They're trying out if clauses, when clauses, all that subordination is going on. And that settles down a bit, but not a lot, by B2. Now, when you go up to C levels, it settles down an awful lot more, you'd be glad to hear. And I mean, interesting just to compare, look at the red bar